Hey everybody, it's Eddie Brill here for OG Talk. I'm here with my co-host Vlad Grinberg. Vlad, how are you today, buddy?
Hey.
Hey, we're in New York City, New York, and it's like the Twilight Zone out there. The usually bustling East Village is very mellow, very quiet. Actually, it's more home to nature than it's ever been. We're hearing birds chirping, which is kind of beautiful. It's kind of, the earth is kind of resetting itself and saying, look, we don't really need you humans, but while you're here, please be kind, you know? How you doing, Vlad? What's been going on with you?
Everything is fine, trying to make my life normal, so that's why I want to reach out to people who are not in New York and see how.
Well, speaking of people who are not in New York, we have your dear friends that I'm getting to meet right now, Ana Valverde and Matt Davey, and they're coming to us from beautiful Portland, Oregon. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Hey, how you doing?
Well, good. You know, you said, how you doing, man? And Anna said, how's it going? So she did the Australian greeting. So you could tell that you guys have been together for a while.
You're speaking up quickly.
Yeah. Like you guys have transformed each other into each other, which is a good sign. What's it like out there in Oregon?
Well, it's definitely like we've got friends in New York, we've got friends in Boston, so we're always getting updates. And if we were to compare the two, Oregon is definitely different. It's not kind of in the, I suppose, the state of emergency that you guys are in. People are still out and about, like riding their bikes, going for runs. But for the most part, it's definitely quieter. I think people are still listening and staying at home. And the main things that we're going out, we've been inside for 3 weeks, and the main things we're going outside for are basically to walk the dog and get groceries. So it's, you know, it's probably the same in that respect. We're staying indoors.
That's great. Now, you know, a lot of people are listening to podcasts and watching podcasts, and a lot of information is going around, some good, some wrong. A lot of misinformation is going around. I saw something out of Canada where they were talking about, you know, don't listen to these, you know, quacks, because there's no way that food helps the immune system. Don't listen to those people. But, you know, the group here, we know a lot better, and we know firsthand that food is really the medicine. And it's kind of interesting that they would put that kind of message out.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I don't think I've ever ate so much ginger in my life. I think I'm having ginger every day. I'm making tea out of orange peel.
Oh, no wonder I see your mustache getting like green.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's good for facial hair growing, the ginger as well. But yeah, we're trying to stay on top of it. I've been a little bit sick over the last few weeks as well. Haven't had any like major symptoms, so haven't been tested or anything like that, but just being mindful that it's a super serious situation, and don't want to infect any other people or let my situation get any worse. I don't think I've got it, but you never know. It could be, I could just be showing mild symptoms. Who knows?
And also there's a stress and a paranoia. Go ahead, Vlad.
No, I was trying to make a bad joke that it's going
to... Oh, good thing we saved you.
It's going to be his show that we're recording.
Yes. But but what's interesting is that stress also leads to the immune system not having its ultimate power that you want it to have. So, you know, like the other day I was, you know, my throat was a little sore and I was freaking out like, oh my God. And then it just was only sore because it was early in the morning and I hadn't had anything to drink yet.
Yeah, yeah, the mind can definitely play tricks for sure. So you got to stay positive, have a positive mindset, as well as eat well, drink a lot of water, and
sleep well and move.
Sleep a lot, yeah, and try and exercise. I mean, that's probably been the hardest part for me. Is I was training for a marathon before this all happened, and I suppose the fact that I did get sick and we're staying at home. I've only run once in 3 weeks, so missing that aspect of my life for sure.
And Matt, you were planning on running with friends, right?
Yeah, exactly. So friends that I met through you, that would have been August 2017, I think.
Oh, wow.
I think, or was it August? No, August 2018, probably. We were in New York City, and I came down to the Organic Grill to interview Nelson and Edna.
You didn't come to interview them. You came in and they were sitting and I asked you to interview them.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
And I also met Bobby.
Yeah, tell the audience who these people are. You mentioned their names. They're
So
friends.
basically, Nelson and Edna are a Brazilian couple that live in Connecticut, and Vlad knows them really well through the Organic Grill, and they're both Edna is an ultra runner, and Nelson is an ultra triathlete. They're both vegan, both plant-based. They've had a pretty cool journey together, so I came down and chatted with them and interviewed them. But I also met Bobby, who is a friend of mine who I'm doing the marathon with eventually when it gets back on track because it got cancelled. But I met Bobby and his brother that day as well. Bobby's an amazing guy, recovered from brain cancer when he was like 21 years old, which was pretty incredible. I've had him on my podcast as well. Vlad's introduced me to a lot of really cool people, and we've got a lot of cool memories in New York City because of Vlad. So yeah.
Maybe it's a good time for us to introduce you. So
yeah, that's what I was going to say. You know, we haven't introduced ourselves pretty much, or you guys, and that's the Organic Grill. OG stands for the Organic Grill, which is the rest, and the hat that Vlad's wearing, as you could see. It's the incredible vegan restaurant, plant-based food restaurant in New York City, where we all go to not only get incredible food, but incredible atmosphere and good vibrations. As corny as it sounds, it's fantastic. And you guys have this incredible, I'm trying to put it in a more poetic way, but it's just a fountain of information, and it comes through your publication and your videos. And can you tell us about VedgeTalk?
Yeah, well, you can go ahead if you want to talk about the podcast first, and then we can talk about the new stuff and things like that.
Yeah. Cool. So basically, podcast started by way of me.
what's the name of it?
What was that, Vlad?
What is the name of the podcast?
The podcast is called the VedgeTalk Podcast. It's VedgeTalk. Kind of thought that I would be interviewing people that are also, like, they're plant-based, but they're also on like the edge of their field of work. So I thought I'd be interviewing people kind of, pushing the boundaries on their work and letting people know about the power of a plant-based diet. So that was how the name came about. And
when did this start? A couple of years ago? It's a couple of years, right?
So yeah, it would have been the summer of 2018. I'd been thinking about it a lot that year, and Anna was just like, you got to just get the equipment and start, stop thinking about it. So she was really the driver behind me making that decision. So
she made all the arrangements. Remember, she came to the restaurant, we spoke, and she just texted me or emailed me, Matt is coming and he's going to do all the interviews. So she set you up well.
It was gonna go
amazing.
A weird coincidence. I remember I took my aunt, that now she's vegan, to the OG because Simon Hill, again, he posted about it, and I was like, I've never heard of this place. It looks pretty cool. So I took my aunt with me, and I remember I posted about it on my Instagram, and Vlad came in and he was like, I'm the owner, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, my fiance now has a podcast. And he's like, we should do something and I can help you out to get guests. And I was like, wow, he's really nice. Yeah, absolutely. And that's how we,
That's the wrong impression everybody gets about me.
But yeah, the podcast it's been a while now, and we have decided to also bring it in Spanish because when we were traveling last year through Mexico and we were interviewing people, Spanish speakers in English, to bring this to our English audience. And I thought to myself, it would be cool to listen to podcasts in Spanish. I rarely consume any media in Spanish anymore, living in the States and living with Matt. I just consume all my media in English. And I was like, wondering if there was anything like it, like all the beautiful podcasts out there that are in English, if there was something similar in Spanish.
Now the audience that you're going to reach, there's Spanish in Spain, and there's Spanish in Mexico, and there's South America.
Yeah.
And, so how are you meeting all these different markets?
Yeah. So
what have you seen?
It is pretty interesting because when we started it, there was just a handful of podcasts in general. Like it was just a new thing. And a lot of the people that were
for the Spanish
listeners, for the Spanish, like in Spanish. And a lot of the podcasts that were in Spanish, they were very high quality and from people that were on the media already and they had all the equipment. So, or from Spain, like there was just one vegan podcast in Spain. And I thought to myself, like, that's great, but I don't feel like I can see myself on them. Like most of Mexicans, most of people in Latin America do not have that lifestyle, that have like the media people have. And although it is great and it's like you can see something awesome, you don't relate to them. And the one from Spain, I thought it was pretty cool and I loved it. I listened to it, but I didn't relate to them because the Spanish living versus Mexico is so different. I've lived in Spain before and I love Spain and I will go back in a heartbeat, but the quality of life and the way they live and the things they know and they do already, simple things like composting or recycling systems, they don't exist in Mexico. So when you hear of someone experienced living in Europe and you're in Mexico, you're like, well, that sounds pretty easy, but that doesn't exist in my country or in my city. Like, how am I going to do it? So I thought it was like the perfect opportunity to bring it to my community from my own language and interview people that are doing it in those small cities or towns in Mexico, and to show people that it is possible and it is for everyone. And I'm just like someone else, like everyone else. I'm just nothing like important or like different. And we've seen a pretty cool shift in the past year in the Mexican vegan culture, and it's exploding, and it is pretty amazing to see. And how many people are just alone in their own community. They're the only vegans in their family. They're the only vegans in their friends community, but they find like some comfort and like just keeps pushing them to keep going by listening to someone on their same country doing the same thing.
What kind of feedback have you gotten, and what have you been surprised about? What has surprised you along the way with the feedback you're getting? Because like you just said, it's so incredible that there might be one person in the family and they're the outcast even though they're doing the right thing.
I think that the thing that surprised me the most is how many people are vegan in Mexico. I thought it was gonna be like the only one. I've always been the only one in my family, but I never thought it was that will stop me because I wasn't living there. But it has been incredible to see how many people are vegan, how many people are changing and willing to listen, and how quickly it makes like a click for them. And also how many entrepreneurs are in Mexico opening vegan businesses in compared to America. I think like the Mexican culture, and I speak a lot from Mexico because that's where I'm from and that's what I've seen. I haven't been in South America, but I've seen them thinking like, oh, it doesn't exist, let me do it. And I don't have to like have this massive marketing team and like this, angel investors. I'm just gonna do it and I'm gonna learn it on YouTube. And like just like simple things like making their own, vegan shampoo in a bar and like selling it to their friends and like having this like sense of entrepreneurship that if it doesn't exist, I don't have to wait for Coca-Cola to make it or Unilever to make it. I'm just gonna do it myself and push that to do something better for my community. So that has been something pretty incredible to see. And
Mexico City is
it's like
a really cool place to visit.
Yeah, it is such like a vegan friendly place, but also like so many, every time I go back, I'm like, wow, this exists here. Why wouldn't have that in America? Like, why we have all the resources here, no one is doing it. And over there, there's like, it is just amazing seeing like this girl that has was able to open her own shop where like she has weekly workshops to teach people how to make a vegan cheesecake, how to make a vegan recipe, or like it is pretty cool to see that exists. And here is like it's not as accessible, I guess, so like people are super scared to do it by themselves.
And any blowback at all from corporations or people who are trying to squash veganism at all?
Good question. I think I'm not really sure. I know that a lot of big companies are jumping to it and creating vegan products and putting the vegan label on it. I think the biggest thing that I've seen is like people or big brands putting the vegan label without being vegan certified. And just like pretending they are, but they don't really know what they're talking about. Or adding like vitamin D, but it's like not from a veggie vitamin D, stuff like that. I think like in the big scheme of things, it's pretty behind. Like the government is pretty behind on it. Corporations are behind it. I don't think they're like against it, but they're not in favor of, or they have no idea. It's more of like the really local community level that are pushing up this movement and way of living, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, I went to Tepoztlan, and it was which has the NASA in America found it to be had the most energy on Earth because the copper in the mountains that they have there. And we went there and had a vegan retreat in Tepoztlan, and the food was more delicious than I've ever had in any country I've been around the world that does serve vegan stuff. I see you shaking your head, so you know this place.
Yeah.
Love that place.
My parents' house is like a half an hour south, like drive south from Tepoztlan. I used to go there like every weekend.
We always, if we're going to Mexico, we make sure to go to Tepos. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It is. I think also like the cuisine is very creative. They use a lot of things that I've never seen before, like the hibiscus flower. They will use the hibiscus flower to make tacos, like the meats, which I think is pretty cool. I've never seen that, and I use it as like barbacoa, and I was like, this is so cool. Like, who thought of this? Or they use like
they cook in the sun. They, you know, a lot of the mushroom dishes that I had there, they use the sun as an oven. You know, it was pretty.
Jackfruit. You've met a guy through the podcast that does. Unfortunately, you can't ship it to America, but he does these massive bags of dehydrated jackfruit, and it's like I'm used to getting I'm used to getting jackfruit in a can, and it still requires a fair bit of work in terms of like chopping it and pulling it apart from the can. This dehydrated jackfruit, you just rehydrate in a soup or in like a taco mix or whatever with spices and flavor, and it just soaks up all the liquid, cooks really nicely, and yeah, one day I hope it gets over here because it's such a good product. It's delicious.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And you know what? I know your last name is Valverde, which is kind of interesting because Verde means
Alarcon.
It's actually Alarcon, but it's so good.
I saw that online. I might have met because I thought it was so cool. If that was true, maybe it was somebody else because Verde means green, and I thought, oh, how ironic. But it turns out moronic that I got the name wrong.
So good. Thank you for my stage name. So good.
Okay, all right, that sounds good.
It's so great that you guys not just decided to translate VedgeTalk that Matt is doing, that it's a separate project that you're doing exactly with cultures that you are more familiar with. It's very interesting. And I like that you said that government is behind it and people are kind of doing a lot of things to promote the movement. It's always like this. People are always engine of the progress, especially in vegan. I remember when we started, it was just a couple of restaurants and people were doing something that they truly believe in. Only at the latest stage, government came in when they found a way of monetizing on certification and overseeing the project, but they were never really in the beginning of it, and only pioneers actually moved the products and moved the
no, it's totally the people. You go to Mexico City, as Anna said, you can find workshops to cook vegan food at home. You can find workshops to be more zero waste. You can find, we've got a friend that owns a zero waste store in Mexico City.
Oh, wow.
You can line up on the street at a street taco stand that is fully vegan.
Yeah.
And there's people from all walks of life lining up at the stand late at night to eat vegan tacos. It's an amazing city, and yeah, anyone out there that's considering it once this is all over, I'd highly recommend checking it out. It's a buzzing city with a really cool vegan scene.
And what do you recommend while this is going on to people? Because this might go on for a month or two or more.
Yeah.
What do you recommend to people?
I guess like try to cook more at home, which I know like that's what everyone says, but just like pick up one thing and try it. And I talk about it on my social medias a lot, and like try to diversify who you follow, and like try to follow people online that does a lot of different things and look different ways. You can learn different cultures and maybe different cuisines, and maybe you find a way to make your favorite taco recipe, you know, in a different way that you had no idea. Like,
but I know you guys are very busy during this time. So what do you do?
what do? We make a lot of stuff at home. We have decided to start making tortillas from scratch. We've been making handmade tortillas, and it's like
I saw the video. Matt is pretty good at it.
He's really good. I think he's better than me, which is really funny. But we decided to do that because of many reasons. The ingredients are better. It's zero waste. It's just a really fun activity to do. It keeps us busy, entertaining, and nothing like homemade tortillas. It's like, you know.
But you also do classes online, right?
I do, yeah. So since we decided to self-isolate, which it was a hard decision because I'm a fitness instructor most of the time, and you know, decided to not do that. It was gonna cut my income, but I felt like this pandemic was bigger than me, so I thought of like using my time and my skills to put it for free for the public, because I just knew that was gonna start. Like I knew this was just the beginning of it, and a lot of our friends are losing their jobs. I mean, we're on the same page, and no one has the income to be paying, you know, $35, $45, $50 fitness classes. And I know for myself that movement is medicine for me, and like it keeps me sane and my anxiety away and like depression away, and like it's just a good way to, you know, have a healthier lifestyle. So I thought of like doing the same but online, and offer free workouts on YouTube for people from all kind of backgrounds. And I have a lot of different like levels, and a lot of them, most of them do not need any equipment, not even like a table. It's just like body weight. And I just want to give people, you know, the opportunity to move, and to have the option at least there, whether they do it or not, whether they do a 5-minute workout or a 30-minute workout, like it doesn't really matter. It's just like an option for people to have that. And this week we're going to start doing some recipes, like easy recipes for them to do as well, with things I already have at home, like, you know, beans or cashews, or like tortillas, or like obviously bring the Mexican aspect to it because that's all I know.
Always.
What about like, is it just podcasts? Is it emails and videos and newsletters, and how are you guys diversified as far as getting the message out?
So if I could break it down, I suppose. So my podcast, English podcast, it's had a little break, you could say. I haven't actually interviewed anyone in a couple of months, but I fully expect to get that back up and running. I think I'm going to have to do some online interviews. I love, and you guys would know this, I think meeting people in person and actually having an interview in person, that's something I chose to do when we were traveling, that I would make sure that they're all in person. The energy is just, it's more enjoyable for the listener. It's more enjoyable for the people interviewing. It's more enjoyable for the person being interviewed.
Right, and at the Organic Grill, people get to eat, you know.
Right.
Great food.
I know, love that. It's a shame that we couldn't come past and do it there.
That's how I lure people in.
Yeah. So
Very
I'm going to have to kind of bite the bullet there and interview some people online, because as you said, Eddie, this could go for a couple of months. So and that's an aim of mine to get that back up and running. But Anna recently went back to Mexico and she did a run of interviews with some really cool people where did you go? You went to Guadalajara, Mexico City.
And that's it.
And that's it.
Yeah. Some
really cool people there. So we've got the podcast still going. Anna has created a new page called The Vedge Life. It's a really nice page. She's got it branded out really nicely through some friends.
And just for a second, it's VEDGE for people who are just tuning in midstream. Vedge, VEDGE. So it's called The Vedge Life.
Yeah. So I wanted to like brand it a similar way to like having the Vedge Life, where you have everything for life, you know, recipes and workouts and some lifestyle stuff. And then the VedgeTalk, when we talk about veganism, and we have actually, you know, people like you guys talk about your journey. But to answer your question, we have mainly audio and video, and that's how we stream our content. So audio is a podcast, and most of the podcast episodes have a YouTube video attached to it. So if people rather watch it or listen through YouTube, they can do that. And
the address is VedgeLife.com. You know, how is it?
VedgeTalk.com. VedgeTalk.com. Yeah.
So if we break it down, we've got VedgeTalk.com, which has all the podcast stuff. And then if you're looking for workouts, recipes, that will be on the YouTube of the Vedge Life.
And Instagram, and you know,
and then eventually I'm sure you'll end up with a VedgeLife.com as well, but that's in the pipeline. So yeah,
what do you see for the future for you guys? What you know, the dreams that you have that you're going to make come true?
We were talking about it yesterday. So
ideally, like what I'm planning to hopefully do is to make this even bigger, like making sure that we are delivering workouts and recipes every week for people to use for free and on YouTube and like video format, and make it like more accessible. Hopefully we can make that in Spanish within the year. It's just a lot of work, and keep doing the podcasts around the world. Like that would be ideal, to interview people around everywhere. Like we wanted to do, like that's what we have planned, go to Europe and interview people in Europe as well, and just keep building this message and like putting it out, and just to show people that veganism doesn't look just one way, and veganism can be whatever you want.
Yeah, because a lot of people are, you know, they look at it, there's a negative connotation that comes from fear, not what happens through vegans, because through vegans, people say, you ever go to, like comedians oftentimes make fun of vegans or vegetarians as having low energy, but vegans and vegetarians know much better than that. You go to a vegan restaurant, the energy is so palpable, it goes through the roof. So really the people who are making fun of it, it's a fear. And it's very important for us to just, I feel it's important for us to just be calm and be an example. And that's why we appreciate folks like you who are that example. And, you know, again, to Vlad, you know, Vlad has, like all of us have, we've evolved in a way that's, you know, like Vlad, what have you learned, say, in the last year before this all went down? What would you say you learned? Vlad. I threw you off by asking you a question.
No, it's such a big, what did I learn? So for me, this year was kind of just reestablishing my commitment and my interests in vegan life, and kind of focusing and filtering on everything that I like to do, and trying not to be with people who are toxic and not supporting what I do, and creating and like carving niche of time for something that I can do more of, something that I enjoy. And guys, you were so modest and shy talking about your travel, and you say, oh, we were just traveling. You were not just traveling. You went around the whole country on a van. And everybody I talked to, my friends, nobody was thinking that you're crazy. Everybody was just jealous that you that you were so optimistic and positive about this idea of new journey. That was my question. Please tell us a little bit more. How did you go through this, and how podcasting and social media and doing a lot of video, it so much intertwined with your lifestyle? How did it change you?
It's so funny that you said a lot of video because we think like we didn't do enough.
Didn't do enough, but basically the way it started was we kind of got into like the tiny house idea. We went to a tiny house. It was probably 4 or 5 years ago on Thanksgiving. We fell in love with that kind of lifestyle, the minimal lifestyle. But it had a lot of roadblocks in terms of actually going through with it, building a tiny house.
In New England.
In New England, at least, where we were living. So we kind of put that on hold. It could be in our future. It's still very interesting to us. But
so you still have roots up there in New England?
No.
Well, we have friends and stuff there, but we
no
don't have
family.
any we don't have any house or family or anything there. But yeah, we kind of put that on ice and started looking at van life, and we were really lucky. Found a couple that were traveling on Instagram, and I really liked their van. So I was like asking Sam, the guy who built it, how he built that specific van out. And we went back and forth for a few days. And after about 3 days of talking, he just said, "Hey, do you want to buy our van? We're going to be finishing our trip in Montreal before we go back to Europe." And we were like, well, Montreal's like 6 hours from Boston. That seems like
too good to be true.
Too good to be true. We looked at each other. We were like, should we really consider this? So I just asked him how much they were looking to sell for. We agreed on a price. And yeah, everything kind of went into motion from that conversation on Instagram. So we flew out of actually New York City because again, back to OG Grill. I met this guy Nelson, and he challenged me to a run in Central Park.
That's right.
18 miles, and just by the way it all fell with dates and whatnot. That night, so I ran 18 miles in Central Park with Nelson, and that night we flew out of JFK and went to Montreal and purchased the van the next day, drove it over the border. There were a few issues. We had to get a new battery and all that kind of stuff, but drove it over the border, and we had the van. So the whole idea behind it, I clearly remember in our closet at home in Boston, I had this big Post-it note, and it was divided in two. And on one side, I had a whole bunch of guests I wanted to interview. And at the top of the other side, I'd written down, will van life and a podcast work? I think I walked past that every day for quite a while. And yeah, we made it happen, and that was the aim. So through the whole trip, we drove from Boston to the West Coast. We traveled through a little bit of Canada as well. Went down to Mexico, down the West Coast. Then we hopped across to Australia to see my family.
Indonesia.
What did you do with the van? You didn't drive across the water?
No, that's not parents' house.
Yeah. Not one of those special vans that go across the ocean, right?
No, it wasn't the magic school bus. We couldn't get it. We couldn't get it to Australia. But yeah, amazing travels through Indonesia and the Philippines, back to Australia, back to Mexico, back in the van, and then back up the West Coast, and that's how we arrived in Portland. So that's a very we could obviously go deeper than that, but it's been an amazing experience meeting like true leaders, people that we looked up to getting into veganism. Yeah. And like the one that comes to, there's heaps that come to mind, but one that comes to mind is sitting in Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn's living room.
Wow.
Interviewing him.
And then having lunch with him.
Having lunch with him and his wife.
Yeah.
after the interview.
It was in Ohio, in
In
Cleveland.
Ohio.
Yeah.
That was just like a pinch yourself kind of moment, and I think there's many along the way that's like, holy shit, did that happen? Like, that was amazing. So
if you put it out there, it will happen, as you've done. As a, it's a really nice success story that you guys have, and you could just
we got to keep going to make it a success. But
of course, you know, I mean,
now.
but along the way, you should be happy with where you get to in order to make, because I mean, everyone is different, and some people need to, put themselves down to be successful. But in order to have a lifestyle that you guys are having, you got to along the way stop and like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. What we did here was pretty cool. We're sitting with Dr. Esselstyn in his house. It's rocking. It's a great way to be.
That's our
old plate.
That's our old
Nice.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I
but
have one too. Way back.
Guys,
So
how do you think this van life changed your life?
I think it taught, I think especially speaking from my own experience, it taught me that you don't need that much to be really happy. And I've always loved to travel, but I think it taught me to travel slower and to really appreciate all the little things along the way. I think I was always being and I have to, have a list of I have to see this place and I have to see this place and just checking it out of my list. Instead of just actually sitting down and enjoy where we were and trying to appreciate the little things more, and just knowing that I could leave with literally a pair of jeans and a couple leggings, and I was really happy. I was loving it,
and I think we're all finding that out now in this rough time, that we really don't need anything but what we have inside ourselves, and that's the most important part. It's really great. All right, before we go, I just want you to let everyone know how to contact you with your social media. Again, it's VedgeTalk and Vedge Life on YouTube. Please share with us.
Yeah, so you can find us on Instagram as the Vedge Life for all workouts and recipes, the VedgeTalk for the English podcast, and VedgeTalkespanol for the Spanish one. So VedgeTalk for the English podcast, VedgeTalkespanol for the Spanish one, and then VedgeTalk.com on the website.
And we look forward to hanging out in person, eating great food at Organic Grill together.
Hopefully
and if you ever need us, we're here. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having us on. Can't wait to actually meet up in person, Eddie. And best of I don't know. Just be safe, be healthy, and
stay positive.
Stay positive. Yeah.
We'll be okay.
Perfect.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.